mean by ethnocentrism? Well, in theory, ethnocentrism is the belief in the inherent superiority of one's own group or culture. In practice, however, ethnocentrism is a dangerous and destructive ideology. It's the mortal enemy of cultural intelligence, and about the only thing you can hope to build with it is a bridge to nowhere. But ethnocentrism isn't something that's new in the world. It's been with us for a long, long time. In fact, ethnocentrism really explains quite well why we see things as we are, why we see others as we are, instead of how they are. And here's the bad news. Here's the bad news. The global pandemic has only made our collective tendency towards ethnocentrism much worse. And this is especially true when it comes to the United States, a country that is currently in the throes of a cultural civil war that risks taking American ethnocentrism to a whole new level of stupid. For any of you that worship at the altar of the cancel culture, let me give you a fair warning because you're about to be offended. But then again, since everything offends you, I'm not sure that it would really matter. But I am not mincing words on this topic in particular because I am tired of watching the damage and the destruction of this type of myopic thinking. The pandemic alone has left us all more isolated, more divided, and more acrimonious. The last thing anyone needs is for the United States to export its cultural civil war to the rest of the world. And more to the point, we would all do well to remember that while the United States is an influential part of the world, the United States is not the center of the world. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why I'm saying all of this. Ethnocentrism has long been a part of the Western world, and in particular, American culture. Let me be clear that this is not a political rant about progressives, liberals, conservatives. The fact is, American ethnocentrism has never had a preferred political ideology. On the contrary, it's manifested itself across a broad spectrum of American culture. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, all have been ethnocentric in both their deeds and their words throughout history, and especially in the global marketplace. So why do I think that the American lean into ethnocentrism is about to get a whole lot worse? That's simple. And the reason is this: because the more Americans turn inward to face the cultural battles that rage from what books to cancel, to what statues to topple, to who should be silenced, to who should be fired, who should be shamed, the list goes on. But my point is this: the more this inward battle rages on, the less likely Americans are to look outward, to consider the perspective of the rest of the world. And let me be clear, I'm not suggesting in any way that there are not legitimate and important discussions that should be encouraged about racism and equality. These are important issues. That's not what I'm complaining about. What I am concerned about, however, is the way this war is being waged. It's being waged in such a deadly and dangerous way that it is going to make attaining a deeper, more profound cultural intelligence next to impossible. Let me give you a recent example that I believe underscores quite well the point I am making. Lester Holt is an accomplished and respected American journalist, and he anchors the NBC Nightly News. Recently, he received a prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award for his work in journalism. In his very public acceptance speech, however, Holt used the opportunity to declare that, quote, fairness is overrated, that journalists should no longer give time to different sides of important public policy issues, that basically once the American mainstream media declares what the truth of something is, their truth must necessarily become your truth. This raises so many concerns on so many different levels, but I have just one for purposes of our discussion. And it's a question. Is this really what America, and Americans in particular, want to foist on the rest of the world? Their truth. Or for that matter, do we really need Lester Holt, the mainstream media, or Americans to tell Italians, Europeans, Asians, Africans, or anyone else in the world what is or is not the truth? Who died and made the American mainstream media the world's truth and reality police? It's a sincere question because, quite frankly, we didn't get that memo here in Europe. And if you think I'm picking on Lester Holt, maybe I am, but he's not alone. And this isn't just about him. The only thing he's done is given voice to the more dangerous aspects of this American cultural civil war and ethnocentric thinking. To believe that only the American media, or for that matter, only Americans can decide what is or is not true, is to reflect the worst, the most dangerous aspects of American ethnocentrism. More to the point, do you really think you can develop a true cultural intelligence if you start with the belief that your truth, and your truth alone, is the only truth that matters?